Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. We've got a great guest here today, all the way from the United Kingdom. The UK has been producing some amazing pros lately, as you know. And this gentleman last year wowed us all at the New York Pro and the California Pro. A lot of people had him doing better at both shows, and they're still talking about it. You know, we're coming up on a year later. So joining us today, Sasan Heirati. How are you, Sasan?
I'm good, thank you, Ron. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
How do you pronounce the last name? Sasan, I got it.
Heirati.
Heirati, okay. I've seen it H-E-I, and then I see it without the I, but you put the I in there, right?
Oh, I did, yeah, it's got an I in there.
All right, I want to make sure we get this right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a bit longer.
I don't know if you can see it. This is when I do the UK guys, I wear this shirt. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice.
Out of respect for you guys, it's half of my roots too. So I'd like to start from the beginning with everybody. So you actually were born in Iran.
Yes.
And emigrated with your family to the UK when you were just 6 years old.
Yes.
I heard on another interview that it was for medical treatment for your brother for cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And I never heard a follow-up on that. How did that all work out for him? I'm curious.
It went great. It was initially the main reason was to get him more. I guess the available treatment was more in the UK, and also benefits like the government help. So even like something as simple as elevators in most buildings, Iran didn't have that. Street access, wheelchair access.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's not. Iran wasn't very prepared for it, and they didn't accept the disabled as well. So here we knew he'd have a better life, he'd get looked after, and we'd be able to get carers for him a little bit easier. So that was the main reason. And then once we got here, obviously the doctors looked after him, and a few of the issues he had. He's had a few operations since, but it's gone well, to be honest. Overall, we couldn't be happier. He's just moved out 3 years ago with 2 others like him and carers around the clock. So he's actually got his own room. He's 27 now.
Okay.
So he's independent. Whereas in Iran, he wouldn't really be able to do that.
Wow. So if you're 31 now.
I'm 32, yeah.
32. Was he a baby when he came over there?
Yeah, he must have been, 1.
Wow.
1 or 2.
Okay. So you had to go over there and spoke not a word of English at the time, right?
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I knew hello because we hadn't started getting taught English in school at my stage. Right. They do teach English really well in Iran, but I hadn't got to the stage yet, so yeah, I had to learn as I went. They threw me in the deep end.
I was going to say, I've met a lot of, Iranian immigrants who speak flawless English. They all have like a little British accent somehow.
Yeah, they do, especially the ones that have been here longer than maybe before they turn 10, before their teens. But if they came here as adults, it's harder to get the accent. Like my mum and dad don't quite speak as fluent as me.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Accent-wise, they speak everything, but you can tell they're Iranian.
Nothing wrong with that. So you gravitated toward athletics. What kind of was that? I think you said in another interview is because that was your way of really communicating and try to be accepted by the peers that you had then.
Yeah, it was back in school. Obviously, when I joined primary school, primary school, I couldn't really communicate as well. And I remember one night I watched Kickboxer.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went in the next day, and my way of telling this guy that I watched it was I showed him a move that I copied, but he took it as I do kickboxing. So he said, "Oh, do you do kickboxing?" At the time, I couldn't quite tell, but I just kept nodding. And anyway, a couple of weeks later, the teacher got me up in front of the class and said, "Sasan is a black belt kickboxer." And I noticed because my uncle was there and he spoke English, and I just went along with it.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's funny because after that I actually joined kickboxing because I thought, well, sport's going to be my kind of outlet. Yeah. It's going to be easier than language. And I ended up in kickboxing, basketball, and then rugby in university.
Wow.
And all that had kind of a backdrop of bodybuilding at home with my weight set. So yeah, it was kind of my way of speaking more.
So which of those sports were you the best at?
I was probably the best at basketball.
Really?
Rugby, I wasn't very good technically. I was just someone you got given the ball and ran and got hit.
Yeah.
I just covered ground. Well, basketball, I actually played every second of the day I was at home. I was outside with my net, and I wanted to be in the NBA. Like, no joke, I would imagine myself on the Chicago Bulls.
Wow.
So, like a last second jump shot, like Jordan used to do. I used to commentate to myself in the garden. My mum thought I was crazy. But
How tall are you, Sasan?
how tall?
Yeah.
5'9". That's why I stopped.
Okay, well, I think that was that was Phil Heath's height, and he was a D1
Oh yeah,
basketball player.
yeah, he was. But then maybe he didn't go quite as far as he wanted to because of that. But
Yeah, that's about a foot too short for the NBA, just about.
it is, yeah, it is. Phil Heath could probably jump higher than me.
Probably. If we ever had a contest, I wouldn't put it past him. So you started training on your own, basically. Where'd you get the weight set? How did you know what you were doing?
It was all on my own. I remember I used to watch Arnie films and Jean-Claude Van Damme, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
While I was doing kickboxing, I watched Jean-Claude a lot. And then I thought, I want to look like these guys. And I remember I was 12 and I saw a shooting star. We were at a family party and my auntie said, make a wish. And my wish was to be big and strong and muscular like Arnold when I'm older. And the other part of the wish was for all the girls to like me, but that didn't quite pan out. But I ended up with the best one, so I guess it did in a way. And then a year later, my mum took me to a shop and we bought my first weight set, which was a York set. It had a bench, it had a little swivel on the end. You could do leg extensions, hamstring curls.
Yeah.
And it had a poster with this little cartoon character guy who was stacked. And he did every exercise for every muscle group in order. And every day and night, I would copy every little picture on the poster.
Wow.
So I would evenly train every muscle on my body from when I was 13 every day. So I guess because I didn't know anything, I was lucky to be given that poster, which was the only thing I had to go on.
It's funny that you mentioned that poster because I started around 13, 14 at a local boys club, and I'm pretty sure it was the same poster on the wall. It was like
it would have been.
It was the guy with the pompadour, right?
It was.
Yeah,
it was the exact same guy.
Tiny little waist and a huge round. Everything was round on him.
Yeah, massive arms, massive triceps. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the exact same guy. So I just studied that. That was like my Bible.
So
I didn't know magazines existed. I didn't know videos existed. I didn't know anything about bodybuilding other than I just wanted to have a lot of muscle.
So what kind of results were you getting? Did you see immediate results?
Yeah, the summer that I got the weights, when I went back to school that September, a load of my friends were saying, how have you put so much size on? All I knew food-wise was babies drink milk to grow.
Yeah.
So all I had was milk, yogurt, and obviously being Persian, my culture is very focused around good food. Yeah. So my mum made us good meals. So the nutrition was already there, even though I didn't know it was. My mum always made sure I ate all my food, even though I didn't want to. So yeah, I saw progress from the start, and because I was training every muscle group, I didn't really have any lagging body parts, which has carried on to today. And I guess so that's quite lucky. And then when I saw myself progressing, I carried on. I was just obsessed with being big, muscular, looking good, feeling strong, and that carried through all the way past school, college, and then university. I tried different things for rugby, but it was still, heavy squats, heavy bench press. So I did all the basics, and I had a good base. And then when I left university, I thought, right, I'm going to give bodybuilding split a go. Because I remember I bought my first Flex magazine had Mark Dugdale on the front.
Yeah.
I think it was, I was about 20. I was about 19, actually, a good 13 years ago. And I thought he looked tremendous. Like, he had the tight waist, he had the full muscle bellies, he had a great physique. And I thought, I want to look like him. And there was a diet inside, your typical Flex magazine diet. Egg whites and oatmeal in the morning and so on. So I copied that diet and I just grew. So it was all kind of there for me. I did it all in the right way without really knowing it.
Yeah.
And that led on to my mid. I just never really wanted to compete. I just wanted to look like them guys. I never thought I would look like them guys. Then when I got to my mid 20s, I came to America for my cousin's wedding in LA, and I went to a gym. It was just a 24-hour fitness, and a few guys came up to me and said, "Are you a pro? Are you competing soon?" And that made me think, maybe I should try something with it.
Yeah.
So that's what made me go and compete.
So up until that point, Sasan, you really had no idea that you had you were better at this than most guys that worked out with weights?
Well, I had some of the old school bodybuilders at my gym. There was one guy called Phil Lewis. He won the Mr. Universe years ago. And he came up to me one day and he said, "Look, you've got full muscle bellies and you've got proportions. Your proportions are right. You're evenly balanced." He said, "You could really win the British." And I just laughed. Like it was comedy to me because
Sounded ridiculous, right?
it did, because all I think was, guys like Mark Dugdale, Lee Priest, Jay Cutler, all these guys I watched. I kept thinking, there's no way I'm a different breed. But obviously I was growing at the same time, so I just didn't. But I didn't appreciate it because I just didn't see myself doing a contest prep. It all seemed quite scary to me. Getting that lean. I'd never really had abs. I'd never been a lean kid either. So
really,
it was all dark areas for me. But when I got to the point where I was carrying a good 200 pounds of body weight, not shredded, but I was lean, I thought I need to either get on stage or scale back a bit because it's getting a bit too. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I was almost living like a pro without even competing.
Yeah.
So that's what pushed me on to trying a show, and then I won my first show, and then it was like a snowball effect from then on.
So what was your first prep like? Did you have a coach or did you just kind of wing it on your own?
A bit of both. There was someone local called Brian Goddard who helped me kind of structure my diet. It was just a very simple carb cycle, four low days, 3 low days, 1 high day, very low fat, no sodium, very old school, which kind of drained me a little bit. Towards the mid part of the prep, I was like, I can't even get to the gym. So I started researching myself that you need sodium and you need to have some fats every now and then, especially on high days. So I started making my own tweaks, and I made it to the stage. And I won the intermediates. I won on size and shape. I wasn't shredded.
Yeah.
Like I tried everything, all the little tricks. Drink wine. He told me to mix red wine, and glycerol in a bottle and sip it.
Sure.
Rice cakes with peanut butter and honey, but it just all made me hold a lot of water because I wasn't shredded.
Yeah.
But anyway, I won that show, and then I thought I want to do one more show just so I could be lean, like get in shape properly.
Yeah.
And then the next show was when I made it out into some of the magazines saying that this could be the next pro. So that kind of blew me away, and then it just all spiraled from there really quickly.
So your first year of competing, you won the British intermediate title, it sounds like.
Yeah, I won a regional intermediate.
Okay.
So I won the Leeds, which was the Northeast.
Yeah.
And then I got an invite to the British finals, which I skipped. And a lot of people told me I was stupid for doing that, but I just didn't think it wasn't my goal at that point, and I didn't think I'd be good enough to stand on the best amateur stage. So I thought I want to do this with an overall win, which was what my next show was. I won the heavyweights in the overall, and then that year I actually won the British heavyweight title, which was my 3rd show. So,
yeah, it seems like you would have turned pro faster, but you ran into 2 amazing guys 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah,
Ricardo, Korea.
Yeah.
You lost the overall to Ricardo, right?
Yeah.
And then the next year you took 2nd to Nathan Dasha.
Yeah.
I mean,
who's now 7th in the world.
And now, yeah, you 3 guys you're pretty much the best 3 British pros out there right now. So
Yeah.
It's not like you lost. It's just, did it bother you, or does it bother you that, in America, compared to the UK, we give out pro cards like Tic Tacs or like, whereas in Britain only one.
Um,
It's going to change now that they have the IPB Pro League and everything.
yeah.
But for a very long time, one man a year, just one guy turned pro. That's
Oh, in the
crazy.
UK, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, our playing field is a lot smaller. We've got a lot less bodybuilders, but I think having that one pro card a year made it extra special. So, there's a list. I think there's a list of 21 guys, including Flex, Dorian, and Nathan, that are on that list now. And that's kind of a list that's going to go down in history a little bit because it's not going to happen anymore. So it was quite cool in a way, and it made it very exciting leading up because you're only going to have one pro. In America, I know there's a lot more, but I thought, well, you guys have one of your states is twice the size of the UK, so
Yeah, that's true.
it makes sense to be able to dish it out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think it does make for better quality because we have shows like the USA and the Nationals where not only all the class winners turn pro,
Yeah.
but like the top 2 class winners. So it's safe to say a lot of these guys, unfortunately, they're never going to make an impact as a pro. Some of them are never even going to compete as pros.
Yeah.
Whereas if you won the British overall, you're pretty damn good. And if you make a go of it and compete, you're probably going to eventually do pretty well. I mean, you're on the way up. Dasha is obviously on the way up. Ricardo is doing very well.
Yeah.
Sando and Hollingshead, they're going to be doing well. So I mean, it does. You guys are more elite in that sense. So I think I don't want to put anybody from the U.S. down, obviously, but a pro card, the way you won it, is more of an achievement. It means more.
No, you're right. Yeah, you do get treated like a celebrity that day as well.
So one thing I was interested in, you it sounds like you don't have you're not a genetically super lean person. You have to work to get in shape. What did you eventually have to figure out about your body and food and things and your prep to make that shift? Because you get in phenomenal shape now.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, I was quite chunky. Even when late teens, early 20s, I was never. It was always hard for me to get abs, just abs. And it's funny now. People think that I have the genetics to get that super thin skin, that detailed, and that's fine. But if you look at my first show, it was complete opposite. And I did everything right. I did my carb cycling. I went very low carb, very high cardio. But when I met Chris Aceto, my second show I got shredded, but I almost killed myself. So it's pretty much your typical no carb, 2 hours, 3 hours cardio a day, and just one cheat day a week. But it just didn't feel very good. And I was dreading doing any prep after that. I thought, if this is what it takes to get into shape, I don't want to do it. But then I met Chris Aceto, and he kind of started to teach me that you have to listen to your body more, not just write a plan. And if I'm not losing 2 pounds a week, add cardio, cut carbs. If it's not happening again, cut more carbs. So that's what I was doing. But Chris has taught me to work with my body. Don't push it too hard. Push it when you can. He still tortures me, but he rewards that torture as well in a way. Not reward, but it's structured high days. But basically, I learned that I have to feel like a zombie the last 6 weeks. Like people don't see it. I mean, I remember Kevin Levrone did an interview once, and they used to ask him about getting in shape, and he said the last 6 weeks he was almost on the verge of going hypo, like 6 times during the day, and that's exactly what that's how I feel like. Like you have to live with me to see it. Like I'll be sat on the couch with my girlfriend Leanne, and we're watching a movie, but I'm staring at a little spot on the wall. Like I'm just not there, At first she didn't get it, and it worried her because she thought I wasn't interested in hanging out with her. But she realized that I had to switch off my emotions because otherwise I'd probably just sit down and cry because I felt so rubbish.
Yeah.
But Chris has realized that he can throw the torture at me, and every prep I get to like 4 weeks out, and I'm like, oh, Chris, I don't want to work with Chris anymore. He's too much. He's pushing me too far. And then every time I get on stage and see the pictures, I'm like, wow, we nailed it again. So it's just I have to suffer. That's all it is. And I remember some of the old school guys, Ant Bales, Dorian, John Hodgson, they always used to say to me, like, guys, don't suffer as much. and don't get in shape. So you really just have to work hard and go past that limit. You almost go past the limit.
Yeah, I'm assuming you don't get cheat meals.
Well, I do.
Oh, okay, good.
I do, but I guess, yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be. I remember my first prep with Chris. We did a 20-week prep. I didn't get one cheat meal, but we got shredded. But I think as he's worked my body out, I've grown. I've stayed leaner in the off season. My body's more. My metabolism is very high now compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So he has to feed me every now and then. Otherwise, I'd lose that fullness. And my fullness is what makes me look 20 pounds bigger than I am. So, but he does. He makes me hurt until he gives me that cheat meal. But he responds completely to my body every day. There is no plan. Like, he'll look at pictures today and he'll say, "Okay, tomorrow we're going to do this," and it could be complete opposite of what we've been doing. But yeah, it's for me. It's that 8 week to. I tell people it's from 8 weeks out to 4 weeks out when it's just a nightmare to be in for me. Like, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're nowhere near lean enough. Chris is torturing me. I'm doing cardio. I'm on low carbs. Like, I actually do low carbs. Where I know a lot of pros will boast that they do, high carbs through into the show, but I don't do high carbs at all. For New York, I was on maybe 50, 60 grams doing 2 hours cardio a day for like 6-7 days before I'd get a high day. So it was, and then I'm 2 hours in the gym, I'm training, and then I also have to go to work as well, so, for a few hours a day. So it was destroying me. So, but you just have to get on with it, and you have to have some sort of sadistic switch in your brain to keep going and fighting.
It's funny you mentioned Kevin Levrone, because I think he might be at that point now with his prep for the Arnold Australia, because I'm having a hell of a time reaching him to do another show. So
yeah, I know how that feels, because I pretty much hide from everyone the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a weekly show from this point on. But anyway, so another thing I read about you that was kind of surprising is that you've said I think it was just a recent post on Instagram and Facebook, where you said your genetics are mostly, you feel, your shape and your structure. Size is something that's never come easily for you. It's been very, very gradual process. Because looking at you now, it's very hard to believe that you just didn't blow up all at once. But that has not been the case.
Oh, not at all. I mean, my first show 5 years ago, I weighed 206 pounds, and my New York show, I was 228. So it's a 22 gain in 5 pounds. A lot of bodybuilders get that in a year or 2 years. And even before that, I remember I was 18 at like 180. So it's been a very gradual, slow climb from then. A very soft 180 I was when I was 18. So it was a lot of fat. But yeah, it's with me, and Chris can see it now. I have to really make sure my meals are there, my rest is there, and my training sessions are so effective and to the point with each set that I really can't miss a trick. Like, if I take some time off or I travel, I'll lose weight. I lose 8 pounds overnight just sleeping. My body's always wanting to go backwards. I didn't get over 266 this off season, and I was eating probably over 8,000 calories a day, and it wasn't happening. So I think when I said my gifts is structure, I can portray a bigger physique than what I really have. Jordan Peters, my good friend and my sponsor, he thinks I've got light bones and no organs.
I actually want to talk about Jordan, because we get a lot of questions about him. He's getting a really good reputation for working with athletes and doing great things with them over there. So how did you end up working with him, and what's different about his style of training that you find gives you better results?
Well, I saw him. I've known Jordan through social media for a few years now, and every British, he'd say hi. When I lost to Nathan, he came over to me and said, he praised my physique and said, I'm going to make a great pro. So we kind of knew each other like that. But then he moved up near me, and he trained at a gym called Strength Asylum. And I went there one day, because I don't live too close to it. I'm about an hour away. I went there to train, and I saw him, and I was just blown away by his just sheer mass, his roundness, his fullness, and his strength. And I just had to go over and I was like, Jordan, let me talk to you about my training if we can. Because I had some injuries at the time. I still do. And I wanted to see how he would structure my training to work around my injuries, but get the most out of muscle growth. And so we emailed back and forth, and I tried a few things that he suggested. It wasn't completely over to his style. It was still what I was doing, but just adding some stuff here and there, or changing a few angles and rotating exercises. And I just started, that was mid New York prep. And I think that really helped me hold a lot of mass going into New York, because I dropped 45 pounds in 12 weeks for New York.
Wow.
So for me to come in that full was a bit of a shock. And I think the training style really helped. He's very progressive overload orientated. And I knew, I always was, but not as precise as he is. I never really logged anything, so I tried that. And then after New York, I tried the push-pull leg split that he does. And I was growing. I was probably growing faster than I ever have before, because every session he was making sure I would beat my number from last week or the session before. Very like Dorian, like everything was calculated, everything was numbered. But for me, it was because I've been training more a bro style for the last 15 years. It was a really big switch for me, so it was hard to mentally get motivated sometimes. So I had to step back. But now I'm kind of mixing what Jordan taught me and what I know's worked for me for years together. But yeah, we still train together. We train most weeks, and he's actually reached out and sponsored me for this year. So he's making it possible for me to compete in at least 2 shows. So I'm 100% super grateful to him for that, and he knows it. But yeah, he's made a big splash here in the UK and everywhere, I think, because of his hardcore, like basic, just heavy way of training. I think people like seeing it. They know it works, and people are just scared of doing it because it hurts. You know, as you progress in your logbook numbers, you get to a point where you think, wow, I've got to beat this today. And it scares you in a way, because it's a lot of weight, whether you're deadlifting, rowing, squatting, leg pressing. But I think that's the mentality that excels people like Dorian, Ronnie. They were all in it. Like Kevin said once, he said, I'm either going to beat the iron or it's going to tear me apart. So I think that's the mentality that Jordan has, and I just gravitate towards that because that's what I need now to keep me progressing and growing.
And, I'm really surprised that you're able to do that with, I don't know the extent of your past injuries, but for you to still be able to, I guess Jordan must be a genius to work around that and still have you getting stronger and stronger.
Oh, he is. He's a genius in the way with training setup, exercise setup, exercise rotation. He just knows. But I think because he's had it all as well. He's popped every type of muscle fiber or tendon you can do in the gym. And what he's very good at above all is form and the way he executes each rep, and also staying away from pain when you feel it. In the past, I've felt something and I've just carried on. Whereas Jordan would say, look, you don't have to squat if it's hurting, or you don't have to leg press. Go and do the seated leg press. Just do, he got into my head and said, slow your reps down, because there's a lot of inertia and momentum when you're swinging reps or fast reps. So when I slowed everything down, I had control of that muscle rather than my joint trying to move the weight first. So everything's focused now. My form is slowed down, and my mind muscle question was always really good. Genetically, I could fire up all the muscles. That's how I grew evenly so well. But now I need to focus even more just to keep some of my injuries at bay. I've got a chronic shoulder injury and a chronic right knee injury, so I pretty much can't shoulder press or do any heavy leg work, but I'm able to now because Jordan helped me so much.
Right on. So let's talk a little bit about your pro career so far. It's been 3 shows, but you've made a pretty big splash at all 3. So your pro debut was 2016 Chicago Pro. What was that like? Because you only get 1 pro debut. Were you excited, intimidated, a mix of everything? What was it like for you going into that?
To be honest, going into it, I thought I'd be intimidated, but when I got backstage at the athletes meeting, I was intimidated because I went and I saw Akeem Williams walk in, and then I saw Dallas. May rest in peace. He walked in, and the guy was he was huge.
Yeah.
Like, he was walking almost sideways because his legs were so round, and I was like, wow, this isn't. I was only weighing like 222, 224, and these guys were all 270 plus, my height pretty much. So
yeah,
it was intimidating until I got backstage, and then when I saw everyone's chilled attitude, I thought it chilled me out. And then I thought, hang on a minute. I kept telling myself, you're here. Chris believes in me, and Chris said that I look phenomenal and I could win. And I listened to Chris. Like, everything he says, I will listen to him. I know he's got an eye for my physique now and what I can do on stage. And I kind of just kept myself to myself. I stayed in the corner. I remember Dorian always used to say, stay in the corner, keep covered up, and just don't look at anyone. Because the year I lost to Nathan, I kind of psyched myself out when he was pumping up next to me. I was thinking, why does he look so much bigger than me? And I think that's the first step to starting to lose it mentally.
Yeah.
So I learned from that loss a lot. And then after Chicago, I just, when I got called into the first call out, they had to say my name twice because I just didn't believe that I'd get called in. Because, you had Johnny Jackson, Brandon Curry, Michael Lockett, Dallas, and Akeem.
Yeah.
So I got called in, and that raised my confidence all of a sudden, like tenfold. And then getting fifth at my pro debut, beating guys like Akeem and Ken Jackson, and all these guys that I follow and I'm a fan of, it boosted my confidence a lot. And going into New York, I didn't care who was there. Like, it didn't bother me one bit. I knew who was going to be there. I knew the hype was all about Akeem and Juan and all the New York boys and Sergio doing it. He was a big story. But it didn't faze me. And I think one thing that I know is going to carry me forward now is I don't care who's on stage. Nobody really scares me anymore. Like, Phil Heath could be stood next to me, and even though I know I'm going to lose to him, I'll put up a fight. And Chris also kind of put that in my head. He said, just don't be afraid of anyone.
Yeah.
You've got all the tools, and that's the way I've got to think. So, because one thing I always lacked growing up was a bit of a cocky, confident attitude. I was always very quiet and shy and reserved, and I think it showed on stage quite a lot. So I'm trying to get away from that and walk out like I'm going to win next time.
New York, I think the New York and the California shows, they really built your name and the hype around you so much because, a lot of people thought you should have won in California, and a lot of people thought sixth place was probably 3 or 4 places too low for you in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect to Akeem, he was a water buffalo. I'm sorry, Akeem, at New York, and I would not have had somebody in that condition in the top 5. I don't care how big and round you are. You got to be in shape. So I would definitely had you ahead of Akeem and maybe even Juan. Do you feel like that? Like the buzz around you after that really, had you been like 3rd place there and maybe won the California Pro, I don't think you would have gotten as much talking about you. It's the way it worked out. This actually worked out better.
Yeah, you're right, because I did get a message off one of my friends that said, look, the hype that you've just created becoming 6th has raised your profile more than even if you were to win the show.
Yeah. So
that made me look at it differently. And as soon as I got off stage and went home, some of the messages I was getting from people I didn't even know, I knew straight away that I did make a bit of noise. And Chris said going into the show, he said, you're going to make some noise whether you win or lose. He said, you look phenomenal. So did Jose. Jose was with me all week. And he just, every time I posed, he was hysterical. He was just loving it.
You actually stayed with Jose right before that show, right?
Yeah, we stayed near him in Boston in an apartment. And we got
in the world.
Yeah. And we trained in Greater Boston Fitness as well. And Chris Acita actually stopped on his way to New York to see me, and that was the first time he'd seen me pose in shape. And so that was pretty cool. And then we drove down to White Plains with Jose and McKellar. They looked after us that week. I can't thank Jose enough. You know, I regard him as one of my best friends now.
He posted, I asked for some questions from the MD forum
Yeah.
members, and Jose only posted one. He wants to know, who's your favorite Puerto Rican bodybuilder?
Who's that? Tito Raymond.
Tito's pretty good. I was going to say Luis Santa, but it's probably Jose. You're going to probably say Jose.
It'll have to be. Yeah, of course it's Jose. You know, he's a role model as well as a friend now.
So after that show, what were the goals that you set for yourself, training wise, physique wise? And you've had, it's been that was May, June, so it's been about 6-7 months. Where are you in terms of achieving those?
Well, to be honest, it was a bit of a roller coaster because I went into Cali to win. Like, I knew Akeem was doing it, and I thought I would definitely get the win in Cali. Like, I had it in my head. I walked out and seeing some of the physiques backstage. I know that's not where you judge a physique, but I thought I'm the most complete here, and I'm in shape. But I was quite flat compared to New York. I'd sucked down a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I think the travel took it out of me. When I get in shape and I peak, I get very dry, and I got so dry to the point where the girls backstage, when they oiled me, my skin was just soaking in. They'd come back round to me and they'd be like, "Have you not been oiled yet?" I said, "Yeah, I've done it." But my skin was just drying up, and that took a lot of polish away from my look. And stood next to Gerard Williams, he was polished perfectly. Yeah. He was full, he was shredded, and I think that's what gave the win to him. I was fading. I didn't look good in transitions. I wasn't full. So I know why I lost. But then after that, I came home and I was super fired up. I was like, next year I want to be top 10 Olympia. Like that was in my head after all the hype and all the emails and messages I got from people. I still get messages today about New York and from people that were in the crowd. Yeah. So I was very hyped up, and I went straight into strength training with Jordan, and we did a good 12-week rebound together. But all of a sudden, I'd hit a wall. Like I didn't want to go to the gym. All of a sudden, I was burnt out, and I thought, I've never felt like this in the last 10, 15 years. So my girlfriend said, "Why don't you just take some time off from training?" So I took a few days off, and I didn't want to go back. That ended up stretching 6 weeks. So for me, 6 weeks. I've not had 6 weeks off collectively over the last 10 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So it threw me off a bit, and I was thinking, well, financially I took a big hit because the USA trips cost me, and I didn't really get the placing checks that I wanted to carry on competing that year.
Right.
So I was kind of in a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do, competitive wise, and but then I knew that if I gave up now, I'd just be thinking in 10 years, why didn't I just go for it? I've got all the tools. Chris Aceto he was starting to talk to me more and more about just everything but bodybuilding. And then it got to the point where Chris said, "Look, you can do this next year." So I said to my girlfriend, I said, this is the last season that I want to just throw everything in and play all my cards, all my best cards, and see what happens. So I'm riding a lot on this season, and that's got me so excited. I think I'm more motivated for a prep than I've ever been. So it's a bit of a dangerous combo, having time off and getting that hunger back, that fresh kind of beginner's hunger. So I know it's going to be a good year for me.
So you were about 228, 229 in New York.
Yeah.
I'm going to break the news because you told me right before we started Chicago Pro. You're coming back to that show for a little bit of redemption. What do you think you might be on stage in Chicago, roughly?
Right now, I'm actually lighter than I started the New York prep, but I'm not as soft. So, and the thing with me, Ron, supplement-wise, I don't push much off season, and
Smart.
Chris taught me that as well. So I do a lot of food and just really try and grow every muscle fiber I can with food and training, and not as much on the supplement side. So when it comes to prep, I don't look at just my weight loss. I know I'm going to grow as well. So that's one of my major tools for prep. So I think I'm gonna predict maybe 232, 233.
That's substantial.
Yeah, if I can add 4 pounds onto the New York look and New York condition, I would be over the moon with that. Even 2 pounds, but I'm going to say 4 pounds from now.
Right.
But 4 pounds for me would look more because I've got small joints and I'm not too tall.
Okay, so now I get into all the random questions. You have
Yeah.
one of the largest dogs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's an Akita named Spartacus.
Yeah.
What does that thing weigh?
He weighs 115 pounds right now, so he's not actually super heavy, but he's very compact and stacked.
Now, how does a Spartacus compare to Jose's dog Chewy? Who's bigger?
Chewie's bigger.
Chewy's it's a bear.
For sure, yeah. Chewie's a Newfoundland. I mean, if you put them side by side, because Sparty's got so much fur, they might not look that different.
Yeah.
But Chewie's definitely a bigger dog, 100%.
Okay. Giles Thomas, who I got to take a moment here to thank Giles, because Giles not only gave me all the contact info for you, and Giles set this up basically for me. So thank you, Giles.
Yes, thank you, Giles.
Gave me a lot of things to ask you about. Like, I don't know, for instance, did you realize the first time you won the heavyweights at the British, Giles had you 4th or 5th?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
he owns it, like I say.
No, Giles has always been honest with me, and we never had any it was never bad between us. He actually said I should do the 212 when I won my pro card, and and I could see why, because I weighed 214 when I won my pro card. But what he might not have known was me and Chris had a target weight of 219 on stage, but my body just ran away with it, and I didn't eat enough, and I was very flat when I won my pro card. So there was no way I could suck down to 212, and I'm 5'9", so I just look too stringy.
People are always saying so and so should be a 212 when they don't know what they're talking about. So, poor John De La Rosa. People are still telling him to be a 212, and he's like 240 on stage.
Oh, I know. John's huge.
Yeah, he's
15 pounds on me.
Yeah, he's thick. Another thing Giles said is you're hobby-wise, the only hobby he knows that you have is he calls you a petrol head, which I guess would be like a gearhead, someone who's really into cars here in the U.S. You're really into the Fast and Furious movies. So what is your personal muscle car, race car? What kind of modifications have you done to it?
It's not even a muscle car. It's actually a family wagon. We call it estate, but you guys call it wagon. It's a Ford Focus ST.
Oh wow! Okay.
But it's I call it a sleeper because it's got a big Garrett turbo on it. It's got all the mods you can think of, and it's pretty much got the power of Audi RS or the RS range now. So it's been there's a lot going on under the hood, and people just don't expect it because they'll look at it and it looks sporty, but it's a wagon. It's got a big white dog in the back. They're not gonna expect anything. So I like to be subtle, as subtle as I can, but be able to back it up against some of the big boys, which I do on stage, I guess.
Did you see the movie Baby Driver?
No, I've not seen that. No.
Okay, you got to check that out. He's like a getaway driver, and
right, yeah.
It's all cars you wouldn't expect to be crazy fast and high performance, but they're all modified. There's so many little car chase scenes in that movie. If you're into cars and racing, and
I'll watch it. Yeah,
if you like Fast and Furious, you got to check that out.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so some questions I took from the forum. So these are even more random. George from the UK, I don't know if you know George or not. What's his last name? I don't know. George UK says, what would quantify a successful year for you? What would you consider a successful season?
So this year, let's say.
Yeah.
A win and an Olympia showing.
Okay. Showing meaning top 10?
No, for this year, just to be on the Olympia stage.
Okay. He wants to know if you think there's a British revival going on in bodybuilding.
A revival as in?
I've said this before. For a good span of years, we didn't really see, after Dorian, we didn't see anyone come out of the UK that was doing well until Flex Lewis. And then there was another lull. We didn't see anybody, but now it's bam, bam, bam. There's Rosie, Nathan, Ricardo, yourself, Luke, James. It seems like a lot of great talent is just coming up to the surface.
Oh, yeah. Of Of course.
Or
Oh,
what do you
British
attribute that
revival.
to?
Yeah.
Is the sport getting more popular over there?
You know what? I think it's always been popular ever since the Dorian days. Bodybuilding's always been something that's um, just been very hardcore, and it's appealed to everyone. Probably it's very hardcore compared to a lot of places that I've been to abroad, and I think it was only a matter of time where um, I think we're a bit behind the US in terms of a lot of things, and I think bodybuilding as well. But I think the last few years, it's just come to shine. Some of the good genetics are starting to come through and do bodybuilding, and obviously do well on stage. And we've had a few years where the pro winner has been pretty obvious from the get-go at the British. And when you have a pro that's, that's the clear winner without, no one is going to bat an eyelid to it.
Yeah.
You know that it's going to be someone who's going to do well on the pro scene. And as well, we've had maybe 5 years now. I think Ant started it, Ant Bales, and then Ricardo, and then Nathan, and then myself, James, and Luke. And each one of us have something we can really do well with. I think every one of us can get on the Olympic stage.
Absolutely.
I think that's been quite rare in the last 20 years. It's been very scattered. Dorian and Flex, obviously, but then there's a few that have kind of done a few pro shows and then disappeared. But right now, I think what is setting us apart is we've got a good support team. Me, Luke, and James have Jordan Peters who's supporting us and giving us that platform to not just get out online, do videos, get a bit of a support going, and also be able to fly over to shows and compete. And Nathan, obviously, he went over to Kuwait, and Ricardo's just so crazy that he's doing it all by himself. So it's gotten, I don't know if I want to say lucky, but we've had a good few years where we've just fallen just right. And Rosie obviously made it to the Olympia, and I can't remember the last time we had such a good bunch coming up. But so yeah, definitely, we're just getting started.
Yeah. Since you mentioned Kuwait, have you been invited over there at all?
No.
No. Are you interested in going over there?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm very home type person. So if I'm not in my home comfortable element, I won't train very well. So,
I feel you, bro. I'm exactly the same way. I hate leaving my house.
I'm the same. I hate leaving my dog, my girlfriend, my family. My mum's cooking. I have to be here. I have to be in the gyms that I'm comfortable with. I can't. I just don't like traveling much anyway. So
Right.
I'm gonna stay put. I'm gonna show that we've got everything we need in the British bodybuilding scene, whether it's supplements, food, hardcore gyms. I think we're gonna show you the next few days that we've got all the tools that we need to be on that big stage.
Yeah, Jose's actually said similar things. He said, "There's nothing they have over there that I know how to train. I know I can do everything here that I can do over there. So I'm not going to leave everything behind."
I believe the same. I believe the same. Exactly what Jose says. I don't think anything special other than good gym equipment and that kind of regimen of eat, sleep, train.
Right.
And some guys need it, and some guys don't. I have a few things that I'm doing right now. It's not just bodybuilding. Most of my day is out and about, rushing around, doing this, that, and the other, and I like it because when I get to the gym, it's like I'm ready to train. I've not been sat on the couch and eating every 2 hours and waiting to train, watching YouTube videos. I think I would get
Can I ask what it is that you do that's unrelated to bodybuilding?
Yeah, my dad owns a little burger place here in Manchester. He does other things in Iran and here. Business related. He's got some businesses in Iran, so he's back and forth a lot. So I basically run that shop. It's open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, so it's kind of non-stop. And we have staff running it, but obviously I have to oversee everything, make sure the stock's there, get the cash. So I go there every day with my dog for a few hours a day, just make sure everything's fine. If there's any emergencies, I'll have to sort it out. And that, as well as I do online coaching now as well, and I'm quite active on the Jordan Peters website, trained by JP. I do my own blog and we do videos. So I'm pretty much busy from the second I wake up to the second I go to bed, which I think is a good thing, definitely, especially at my age. I want to be making, I want to get ahead in life. I don't want to just do enough to get by. I want to get ahead in the next few years.
Right. Davey Meister from the UK wants to know the craziest workout you ever had with Jordan Peters.
It has to be a deadlift one. Has to be a pull workout because Jordan is one of the most insane deadlifters I've ever trained with. I think once, one session, he had 8 plates on the bar, and he pulled it like his back didn't even like bend. It was just rigid. It was just straight, and he just stood up with it, went back, and you could see when Jordan gets ready for a deadlift. The way I explain it, it's like something demon comes out of him. He changes. Like he has this look in his eyes. Like my girlfriend says, he's got them demon eyes this time. And he just gets, he grunts and he barks and he has to shout. And you just watching him, I think, wow, it's like an out of body experience because I don't think he even knows what's going on.
Wow.
But it's that mentality, like when Ronnie gets under an 800-pound squat bar. I think it's the same. I think you have to have something. So when I used to do back workouts with him, every session he used to just blow me away. And it made me push. Like I'd never deadlifted more than 4 plates, whereas with Jordan I got up to 6 plates for 6 reps. So just having him with me every back workout was just crazy. It left me pretty much disabled for a few days.
Okay. Mayor of Bodybuilding, that's a fake name, obviously, is Dan Dillon, is his real name. He asked a few questions that you've already answered most of them. But here's one I always like to ask anyway, because it's kind of generic. But what's your favorite and least favorite aspect of being a bodybuilder?
My favorite aspect is the training. It has to be. My love is in the gym. Whether I'm competing, whether I'm a pro or not, I have to train. I just love being in the gym. I love pushing heavy weights. I love pushing light weights. I just love being in that gym environment, and I love the feeling you get when you leave the gym and you've achieved something. The worst part of bodybuilding is when I have to shave and tan. Every single time I get to that point, I'm like, I want to quit. This isn't for me.
We're Persian, so the shaving must be
exactly terrible. Yeah, exactly. We've got some stubborn hair, and when my tan, like Jose said, get 2 bottles of Pro Tan on you. You'll be all right. And I was getting tanned at the show as well in New York. I said, I'm getting tanned at the show. He said, no, get 2 bottles on you. He came back that night. I had 2 bottles. He brought another 2. He's like, you're not dark enough. And then I ended up putting 7 bottles of Pro Tan on me.
Goodness. And
Chris saw me the night before New York. He said, he rang Jose, said, Sas is too light. And I was like, oh, I've been stood up for the last 48 hours getting tanned. And we kind of realized that my skin just wouldn't take the Pro Tan in. So
yeah.
I had to get tanned about 11 coats by the time I got on stage. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm looking for a different way of getting tanned this time.
You must be the pastiest white Persian of all time.
Oh, I know, right? I thought it'd be easy. I mean, Jose does 2 coats and he's black.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He tans pretty easily too. Once he gets some actual sun or a tanning bed, he gets dark fast. That's when you know he actually is Puerto Rican. So, last question for you, and it's actually the same question from Dan, as Giles wanted me to ask you about this too, because you are a shy guy and you're not really someone who likes to promote himself and toot his own horn, but in this day and age of social media, you kind of have to put yourself out there and really promote yourself in this industry now. It's just the way it is. So do you have any plans to start pushing yourself more on social media, promoting yourself a little bit more?
I'm always thinking in my head that I need to either get a YouTube channel. I think for the last 2 years I've been saying I'm going to set my YouTube channel up this year. I'm going to do it. And I just keep prolonging it. The thing that I have with Jordan and his website is helping me a lot because obviously if you're not a subscriber you won't get to see the content, but we still get to put promo videos out of me posing or training. I'm trying to be more active on my stories. The thing is, with my lifestyle right now, I've got so many things going on that I can't. Sometimes I don't even have the time to think of what to post, type thing.
Right.
But I'm hoping to, in the running into this show, this Cali and Chicago,
Yeah.
to really get as much out there as I can with interviews, like with yourself and whoever else I can get interviews with, and
Well,
if I can maybe get a YouTube channel.
Giles Tiger Thomas wanted me to tell you during this interview he wants to help you out. He and Rosie will come down to film you working out, interviews. You know, hook up with him and get it. We'll put it on MD. We'll give you all the publicity exposure you want because, you know, you're an amazing new bodybuilder on the scene. People are excited. Your name's people want to know more about you. They want to see more of you. So yeah, talk to Giles, bro. Let's get it going.
That's great. I really appreciate, and I'm grateful to you and Giles and Rosie for offering, and I'm not going to say no. So let's do it.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much for your time. You've been very, very generous today with it. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
I hope to be seeing more of you on MD through Giles and Rosie. And, you know, if you want to log on there and post, God knows you're welcome, bro. We would love to have you on there.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'd like to come back on maybe closer to the show to update you as well on how everything's gone and how I feel.
I'll talk to you after you win the Chicago Pro. Sure.
That sounds good to me, Ron. Cool. Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you. So for the Ronline Report, this has been me, Ron, with the UK's newest rising star, Sasan Heirati.